I think throughout my life, I've been grateful that life has made decisions for me, not honestly made something that is so stark from the path that I'm going in that it's something that I've consciously taken. I was letting the flow take me to wherever it has to. There was not that sense of consequence.
Do you mean that there is more to lose now than before?
We are a sum of the people around us. So I slept to keyboard noises of my roommates working. I woke up to keyboard noises of my roommates working. So experiences like that shaped the transformation.
People living there, they don't have they don't know the version that I have become now. Like the version they know of me is someone from the past which no longer exists.
So for me, I feel like work is an enabler to what I want to do in my life, which is spend time with family, spend time with my wife, and have like the best experiences, whether it be within the United States or within outside.
Is having shared experiences a big part of it, because when you share common experiences with people around you, I think you relate to them more, and that's why how friendships and relations grow.
I think the best conversations you have with your friends, and even when I go back home, is hey, remember what we did then? Remember what we did then?
Nostalgia.
So, which is nothing but shared experiences, right?
Can you be friends with someone with whom you cannot relate? And that could be like people from different age bracket, people from different professions, people from different social upbringing. Hello, guys. Thank you so much for joining, and welcome to the new episode of this podcast, Stories Around the World. I'm really glad you could make it to this episode, and I hope you find this conversation really engaging and thoughtful, reflective. So, on today's episode, I have a very dear friend of mine who is also great at giving some interesting conversations, interesting ideas, and insights. And we'll talk a bit more about like his journey as well. But before that, I would like to give a quick introduction here. That this usually we try to keep our episodes neutral. It is easy for everyone to relate to our topics, our conversations, because what we're going to discuss today is something that each one of us has gone through in certain part of their life. So we really hope that you find this conversation deeply connecting, deeply reflective, and something you can take out with you towards the end of the episode. So, Abhishek, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to do this podcast. I know we were going back and forth with the timing and the scheduling of it. So, thank you so much for making the time finally to have and to come here and record this podcast with us. So, to start off with, can you just walk us through a bit of your background, your journey? I know you're from the south of India, and then you moved here almost a decade back. So, if you could walk us a little bit about your journey, your experience so far in the US, and how has life turned out so far for you?
For sure, for sure. And yeah, thank you, Prathamesh, for having me. Yeah, most of those scheduling issues were on me. So thank you for being patient and thank you for having me here. I think I always wanted to have this conversation with you, and I hope I can do justice to the introduction that you've given. And hopefully, it is a fruitful conversation that folks can take back as well. But yeah, looking forward to it. From my journey perspective, right? I think many people who have seen me grow up would be surprised at what I've become because I was one of the most naughtiest childs growing up. Right, so I'm from South India, from Bangalore. I'm born in Chennai, but brought up pretty much entirely in Bangalore. So yeah, I think growing up I was fairly carefree. Growing up very naughty, enjoying the outdoors. Hardly ever studied to the dismay of my parents. But then they soon realized that yes, the child is growing up eventually. So I think it all worked out well. But yes, grew up very carefree, borderline careless, I would say. Did my engineering back home in Bangalore, and then worked for about a year after that, and then made the move over to the United States to pursue my master's in computer science. After that, it's been quite a journey here, going through different phases of my life. But yeah, it's been pretty much in the software industry after that. Yeah, I think we'll explore more of that as we get there.
Yeah, I think I'm really surprised when Abhishek said that he grew up as a naughty kid who kind of was borderline careless, because the version I know of Abhishek, but the version that we all know here is someone who is extremely polite, who is someone who's extremely well behaved, who talks sense all the time. So it's kind of a transition even for us. So in a way, we didn't get to meet the kind of the raw version of Abhishek that he just described. So, but I'm glad to see that you have like a journey coming off, like going from a guy who was naughty to a person who is like matured and well behaved. I know you moved here for your education mainly, but when you moved here, was there anything specific that some experience that was unexpected, which you did not like factor in when you were preparing for education, for preparing to a new for a new life in a foreign country? Because like a lot of times when we are getting ready to move to a different country, we have fair bit of idea like what life there could be. But at the same time, there are a lot of things which you don't account for being back in India. So, from your experience, did you come across any such experiences, any such situations which came out of like out of nowhere, it surprised you, or which were kind of unexpected?
See, if I have to be brutally honest, right, like it partly ties to the sort of carefree nature I had, and also the sort of situation I was in, right? Like I think throughout my life, I've been grateful that life has made decisions for me, not honestly made something that is so stark from the path that I'm going in that it's something that I've consciously taken. So even this master's journey was a sum of, to say, a good peer pressure around me, right? Like a lot of relatives or a lot of friends around us were going and pursuing their masters, doing great things. Right? So as the wave sort of went towards the USA to pursue masters here, joined the wave, came here, and I think my expectations of here, to be honest, were mainly what I've seen in movies, the American experience, right? The enjoyment, the outdoors, the whole lifestyle, and then and all of that. So I was looking forward to that, looking forward to seeing Hollywood, looking forward to experiencing Vegas and all of those fun stuff. Right. To be honest, I really didn't think too much about what it actually meant to pursue a master's here and then look for a career right after. So when I came here, I think the biggest sort of surprises were in those fields, right? Like, okay, now you're here, the responsibilities. Now you go get your gas connection, get your electricity, get your utility connection, right? And then from your responsibilities, then you shift over to the education, right? There's such a onus is placed on you as a student as opposed to people continuously following up after you. So when we talk about India to US shift, we talk about a cultural shift. But my cultural shift was not too much in the actual culture aspect, but it was in the culture and education, right? Back home in India, teachers used to be behind us saying, hey, you need this assignment, you need to get this done. You have a unit test coming up.
Yeah.
So they should be constantly behind you. But here there was a completely different culture. Now you're responsible for what you have. No one's going to come back and say, if you don't do this, I'm not going to give you marks. If you don't do this, you're not going to get marks. So there was a big cultural shift there. That was one surprise. And finally, I did not know how hard it was going to be to get a job. Right. And this is what 6 years ago. And then I'm not even talking about how difficult it's become now. So
Yeah.
even then, there was a period of time where I had to constantly slog to eventually end up getting a job. So those are the three main surprises,
Yeah.
and glad that it all worked.
Yeah, I like the first point you mentioned. I like this. Like, it's a very honest confession that I think almost every one of us experience in some shape or form, but not everyone is able to kind of um, be vocal about it. The point that you mentioned about like going with the flow, like even when I was growing around the same time, everyone with an engineering background or some tech background, they were always drawn to the West. So most of the decision to move to the West was not taken from a state of awareness. It was just taken from a state of because everyone else is doing. What is your opinion on that thought process? And like people who are in that zone right now back in India, do you think that is still the right mental model to go ahead and kind of pursue a dream just because people around you are chasing it, or because it sounds cool? Because it sounds cool to go to Vegas, it sounds cool to explore the US. So is that the right mental model? And secondly, did that mental model or did that attitude still continue for you? Like, do you still kind of unknowingly make decisions going with the flow, or having come 6 years ahead in life, has your decision been uh, more process oriented, more well thought of? So, what would you say on those two fronts?
Yeah, I think those are great questions. It's something that I've thought about as well. To answer your first question, right? Like things have changed, in my honest opinion, from the time we've come here. It's been what, close to a decade, like you mentioned, but things have changed drastically. Um, I don't know if it's ideal anymore for you to not have the right ambitions and come here, like I did, right? So I mean, I did not have a goal that I was working towards. It was just something that I did because it was a checkbox that we ticked off in our growth, right? And then so if you don't really have a good purpose, and if you don't have a good expectation of what it is that you want to achieve at the end of the journey, this might not be the best of times. Like I mentioned, things have changed so drastically.
Yeah.
Maybe the temporary nature of your presence here, may it be the career space, especially in the field of computer science, is going through a bunch of flux. I think, yeah, with whole AI, I don't want to get too
It could
much
be a
into it.
saturation as well, right?
Yes, I think we've spoken enough about AI being impacting many aspects of life,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I think if you don't have the right motivations and a good idea, I won't say a best idea, at least a good idea of what you want that end state to be, then it might not be the best decision to come here, right? Because again, it's not as it was before, and then things are changing, and then so you would really have to revet it. I'm not saying that it's not a good idea. I'm just saying you need to know what the plan is, at least
Yeah.
a good idea of that. And to answer your second question, right? I think even when before I was letting the flow take me to wherever it has to, there was not that sense of consequence, right? So I think what's changed over the years is that sense of, okay, what is the consequence of making a particular decision, or or going along with the
Yeah.
flow?
Do you mean that there is more to lose now than before?
No, there's an awareness of the consequence that was not there. Maturity, just growing up.
Okay.
Hey, this could happen if you just let things be. So I want to make sure that any decisions, or not decisions, even if I'm going with the flow, right? Like for instance, I was working in Amazon for a couple of years. I didn't look for a change in job. An opportunity from Microsoft just came, and I took it. So it's not necessarily something that I've sought out, but something that's come to me. But I'm sure of the decision that I'm making then, right? Like I have still that decision of yes or no.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear that this is not something that I want to make in haste, or just because it's worked so far. I'm not just
Yeah.
going to say this is going to work. I'm cognizant of the consequences. I'm responsible enough to make sure that this is not going to have issues.
Yeah. I think even for the listeners who are like joining us right now, I think this is a very important point you made, that you have to be more analytical in the decision making process, because just because something has worked for you going with the flow before does not mean that pattern will repeat. So even when you're going with the flow today, I think we need to be more analytical. Just like that, did you see any other changes within you when you moved here, or did you feel that you have changed in a certain aspect which you did not expect? How did the US culture like shift that, like in your evolution in that sense?
For sure. I think the minor aspects of changes are to do with US culture. The major aspects of the changes are to do with what it means to get here, right? Like so we came here on a loan. We mortgaged our house
Yeah.
to account for the loan.
Mhm.
And so that weighed in on me. So when I came here, I know that there, at least for me, the way I was thinking about it is there is no option than to succeed. And that was one thing. And the other thing is, even when I landed here,
Mhm.
I didn't really it didn't really sink in as to what it means in terms of what is on the line, right? It's when I had like, and I think, yeah, this is true for most of us, which is we are a sum of the people around us. So I think, like, I had a very good friend of mine, and she will hate me for saying this, but then we had a conversation very early on where she asked me like, "Hey, what is the professor under which you're doing these subjects?" And I had no answer. I just said, "Hey, I took this subject," and we had this long 1 hour conversation of, okay, you need to understand why we're here and why what it means to be here, and then what is the next step for you, and then
Yeah.
you need to be a little bit more clear about that, and that actually sort of think experiences like that actually help, right? Like it was not like a sudden transition of I landed here and I was different. It was over a period of those 1 or 2 months that I landed here
Mhm.
where conversations like these happened. And then I had amazing roommates who were dedicated, who were committed.
Yeah.
So I slept to keyboard noises of my roommates working. I woke up to keyboard noises of my roommates working. So experiences like that
Okay.
shaped the transformation into someone from being a carefree person to someone who was careful. So that was a major transition. And from a US culture perspective, right, like whether it be the tiny things that we see around us at work, and sometimes even outside of work, right? Just the regular conversations, small talks that we have with like a barista when we go through a
Yeah.
drive through. So all of that, this just makes you I think appreciate the
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the culture here. Like,
Yeah.
so for instance, like in India, there's a lot of, I mean, it has its own benefits, but things like, okay, um, we have boundaries, things like that, right? Those are the changes that I sort of have, like, I call it minor, but those are the ones that I've sort of
Yeah.
imbibed after speaking to folks here.
Yeah. I mean, that is a, I mean, it's a good transition. You talked about like going from carefree to sort of careless to carefree. I want to talk about the flip side of it. Do you ever think of the fact that in the process of where you are right now, did you lose any aspect of your personality that you would have liked to preserve? So I'll give an example. Like in my case, when I was in India or when I was still younger, I had this trait of like being the one who takes a lot of initiative. I was the person who used to like plan trips. In that sense, I was the one who used to take initiative. After moving here, one thing I've realized is that I kind of shy away from doing that. It did not happen. It happened organically. It did not happen intentionally. So I did not like so it wasn't meant for me to do it, but I think now when I see look back at myself, I think I'm less I'm less of one who will take initiative. So that is one transition which I think I would have wanted to preserve, which is maybe getting lost in the process. So similar to that, did you have any such traits, any qualities that got lost along the way that you would like to preserve?
I think one key thing about me in that situation was subconsciously I was risk taking. Like I used to take risks without knowing I was taking risks, right? Because I had that carefree nature. But now I'm very cognizant of it, and I'm careful as to, like, okay, what are the risks associated? Maybe the risk taking ability has, or the risk taking has come down a little bit.
Hmm.
That's one thing that I would say. But that being said, right, like when you say things like taking initiative and stuff like that, so for me, it's what's most important is am I in a situation that where I need to take initiative, or are there people around me that I can trust? Right? So I'm very much happy to take the back seat and enjoy the experience, right? Not having to worry about, hey, is everyone on time and all of those
Yeah.
things. But at the same time, if I have to step in and be that person who needs to take up the planning of it, the making sure everyone's together kind of things, I'm okay with that. Sure.
Okay. Got it. Makes sense. The other thing I want to like talk about is like how has your equation with your friends from India changed over this period of time? Sometimes I feel that people living there, they don't know the version that I have become now. Like the version they know of me is someone from the past which no longer exists. They know a version of me maybe from the previous decade. So how has been your experience on that front? Like when you go back to India, do you have the same feeling that you're not able to relate more? Are you like kind of slowly losing out on your friends from India, or how is that experience for you?
For sure, I think partially relate to what you're saying. Unfortunately, one of the biggest regrets is the tapering off of the relationships that you had in India, right? Like,
Yeah,
right from your parents. So I used to chat with them every day. I used to like come home from work and speak with them, have dinner together, and all of those things. When I came here, it started tapering off. During master, also it was great. Like we used to speak almost every other day, but now it's tapered off to an extent where my father is like, can you speak to me at least once a week? It's a joke. It's a running joke,
yeah,
but you get the point. It's an exaggerated version, but the point still stays.
yeah,
And with friends, that's even more exponential, right? Because you don't have a very strong driving force to continue that conversation. So it mostly has to come within you and the other person as well.
yeah.
And then, mhm.
Sorry. So I was basically saying that do you have this feeling that you have somehow like outgrown that phase or outgrown that set of friends that you're not able to like, connect or relate with them anymore?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's where like we have to accept the fact that we're leading parallel lives, right? Like, I mean, our lives are so different in terms of the challenges that we face every day, in terms of what life is, right, from sunrise to sunset. That sometimes it becomes very hard to have a conversation, right? Like conversations that used to go on for like 30 minutes, 1 hour back home, probably will last 5-10 minutes now because you don't
Yeah,
really know what to speak about.
yeah. They feel forced.
Of yeah, I mean, certain point, right? Like you try to come up with topics. Now, what's next? What's next? The
Yeah,
moment you get to the point of what's next to talk about, that's when I think conversations become less organic, and then they start tapering off. And yes, and that's where you slowly lose touch. And yeah, like you mentioned, unfortunately, I think meeting closest of friends I've had back home happens once a year when I make that trip to India. But I think the one thing that I have experienced differently is when I do meet them, right? And it's so it's so refreshing to see that some of them have not even changed. They're the same carefree people
Yeah.
that I've met, that I remember from like 10 years ago, and I feel so relieved and refreshed to shed the baggage of the person that I've become now, and to try and relive some of those old memories. And so, like, I think like a house on fire, we get together. Like as soon as we meet, we're back to the same wavelength, and then we chat, we make the same jokes, and then yeah, we have a ball of a time.
Yeah, I mean, that is one thing, like when you said that, like people have not changed one bit. I remember something like when I go back to India, I always visit my hometown. One thing which I have noticed is that in the past, like 10, 15 years, nothing has changed there.
Mm.
Everything is just the same. The people, the way they talk, the way they dress. It's a small village, so you don't expect much of it. But still, I mean, sometimes feel it's kind of, I have this feeling of like being jealous. Like these people are so satisfied. They haven't changed one bit. And here we are trying to improve every single day. I mean, that is, I think, the trade-off, like being satisfied or being ambitious, probably.
I mean, at least at the end of the day, I just narrowed down to try and find out what makes you happy. I mean, it's sounds very simplistic, sounds very said, but I think that's what it boils down to. If you're not doing what you're happy makes you happy, then that probably is where all these complications come in of how do you keep yourself motivated, how do you stay refreshed, how do you not burn out, and things like that. So for me, I feel like work is an enabler to what I want to do in my life, which is spend time with family, spend time with my wife, and have like the best experiences, whether it be within the United States or within
Yeah,
outside. So that's what happiness is for me, right? Like I don't have strict
yeah,
career targets and things like that. I'm happy. I always obviously want to move ahead, but it's not that there is this destination in mind. So I'm able to enjoy the journey. And so I think that's what I would recommend. Try and find out what gives you happiness, what gives you peace, and then try and follow that, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
I like how this is going, and you're doing a great job, actually, like
Yeah.
explaining these things in a very simple and easy to understand way. Is having shared experiences a big part of it? Because when you share common experiences with people around you, I think you relate to them more, and that's why how friendships and relations grow. When going back to the example, maybe because we don't have enough shared experiences with those friends anymore, maybe that's why the talk time has gone down from 1 hour to 5 minutes. So do you see the role of having shared experiences in kind of building a relation or a friendship?
Yep. I think twofold. One is shared experiences for sure. That keeps the conversation alive in a day-to-day basis. Another one is to be able to relate to the other person's journey. And that way, also, if you're not talking about the shared experiences, you're at least having something to talk about. Hey, I'm actually going through this. I'm actually today I did this. I am. It can be anything as simple as I got a driving license, I got a car, whatever, right? Like, but there is a small diverge that happens when you have friends back home versus what you're experiencing here, and the group here is very different from the group there, right? So
Sure.
twofold. One is the aspect of shared experiences, which again I think the best conversations you have with your friends, and even when I go back home, is hey, remember what we did then? Remember what we did then, right?
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. So, which is nothing but shared experiences, right? And then so, yeah, I think 100% agree there, and that coupled with a relatable life.
Yeah, I mean, I want to go on a tangent here because this is something I think is an interesting point. Um, One thing which I keep thinking about is like, is this aspect of being relatable with someone crucial for being friends with someone? Because what I'm trying to say is that can you be friends with someone with whom you cannot relate? And that could be like people from different age bracket, people from different professions, people from different social upbringing. So because I think there is some hidden value in having that kind of friendship develop. Because I'll give an example. Like when I was working back in India. Uh, a very close friend of mine I think, was 20 years elder to me. We had nothing in common. I mean, we just used to be in the same office. We used to have lunch together. I mean, her kids were, I think, maybe 5 years younger to me, something like that. So completely different generation, I would say, but still we were extremely good friends. Even now we are friends. So that is something I think I keep questioning myself, or I keep challenging this notion where we say that you have to relate to someone with to become friends with them. Because like some of the most rewarding relations or rewarding friendships where you learn a lot, where you understand a lot, are from these people with whom you have no relation, with whom you have no shared experiences. So, what are your thoughts
I
on that?
think to answer that, right, I first have to clarify the word relatable. So when you say relatable, is it meaning that you're appreciating what someone's going through, or you're appreciating it because you've also gone through it?
The latter.
Okay, so yeah, then I would say no, right? So I would say that the key to a good, strong friendship is being able to appreciate or being able to understand and being able to appreciate. Yeah, appreciate. I think at
Yeah.
the end of the day, what someone's going through and being interested in it. Also, it's not necessary that you have gone through it, but as long as you're able to appreciate what they are going through, you bring a very strong foundation to that relationship. Now, in the apps, and then yeah, when I say appreciation for what they're going through, again, like exactly what you mentioned, right? They don't have to be from the same upbringing. They don't have to be same age as you. They don't have to be the same phase of life. They just have to have something that's interesting or something that you appreciate in them, right? And so maybe you having gone through that is not necessary, but at the same time, you being able to appreciate and being able to have that conversation with them is important. Because otherwise, I feel like it becomes a very superficial relationship.
Yeah. I think it ties back to the comfort zone philosophy. Like we are friends with people with whom we are comfortable with, or it's very easy to talk to. Because when you are trying to build a friendship with someone who is from a different background, maybe you have to put in a bit of extra
Hmm.
effort
Hmm.
just to be on the same page with them.
Yep.
So I think maybe somewhere it boils down to this experience of being comfortable or willing to be out of the comfort zone and having that friendship blossom.
I think any relationship, even with someone you're truly comfortable with, if you want to go that extra mile, right, it's always coming and meeting at the center. If one person is giving too much, you're never going to get like a very strong relationship
Sure.
out of it, right?
Yeah.
So definitely, right. But you should feel within that it's worth it, right? Like, and then that comes from being able to appreciate what they have to offer, and then you actually liking that.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to is longevity of friendship, because longevity it does not depend on if you're like extrovert, you're talkative. It mainly longevity of any relation depends on if you are willing to reciprocate.
Yes.
If you're not, if you're willing to stay in touch,
Yes.
then all those things I think kind of matter.
I personally consider myself as a sort of an introvert in that I am happy with myself, like just me being myself. And it takes a little bit for me to get used to someone. Like even our relationship, right? We knew each other so well, but up until a certain point, I don't think we got this close as we are right now, right? And so something just clicked in me, and then
Yeah.
probably there's no turning back after that. So for me, what helped a lot in that
Hmm.
scenario, because if I was just me taking the burdens of the masters, taking the burden of post masters, right,
Hmm.
probably would have had a hard time. But that's where I think I was lucky in a way that my cousin sister coincidentally got an approval in the same college. So my cousin sister and I, we live maybe 2 roads away in Bangalore. We didn't know each other
Okay.
till we came here, right? And the day we landed, I think we met each other at a supermarket, and
Yeah.
she luckily had her parents drop her over here.
Oh, okay.
So it was so lovely to go in the evening. They cooked all amazing South Indian food,
Yeah.
and go sit there after like the stark difference of, oh, we're in this new world, and
Yeah.
then there's this new room that you're going to call home for the rest of the year. It was so nice to refreshing to go and see some familiar faces, right?
Yeah.
And I think our bond started from there. So
Okay.
it was good to have them. And then I had excellent roommates. I think we used to cook together.
Yeah.
We used to make chapatis together. We used to do hackathons together. We used to do so many things together. There's some aspect of shared trauma there, I think, which built a really
Yeah.
strong bond. And so the support group starts building organically. And then I think I have it. I owe it to my cousin sister and the roommates there, because if not for them, I wouldn't have had an extended circle. It's through
Mm,
I became good friends with their friends.
yeah. Like
And,
mutual
and I
friends.
wouldn't have gone seeking that
Yeah.
without that, right? And at the end of the day, we had such a beautiful circle of people willing to be there for one another.
Yeah.
I think that's one key aspect that helped me get through my masters, right? And I think to your point, the support group part, the resetting of it happens in phases. Like, so
Mm,
we had a phase where we moved to the US and it had to be reset. And then now you have this point where you've done your masters, you've graduated, and you move to another city. Not necessarily everyone in that
correct.
master's program have come to
Correct.
the city with you.
Correct.
There's
Yeah.
a slight reset there. And now
Yeah.
your expectations of support are different. What you require from the support is different.
Mm,
So that reset happens. And then maybe later on when you get married, you have a spouse now. Of course, that's a great addition. but there's also now a reset there because the people that you're hanging out with maybe changes, right? The
Yeah.
choices that you make maybe changes. So reset constantly happens. I think it's important to try and find your best footing in every phase of that.
Yeah, I like the way you talk so passionately about this support structure because it's very very crucial and very critical in today's world. Uh, what I got a feeling is that your support structure will change, will evolve depending on your age as well. So maybe like you mentioned, like your spouse being one of the support tiers here in this case. So I would like to like pivot on that point now. Like when you talk about like having a new circle around you, which is uh, kind of based on your spouse or the vice versa. Do you feel that in that process one might lose some kind of individuality? By that, what I mean is that like when you're spending most of your time with your spouse or their friends, it could be either way. Do you unknowingly miss your own self in the process? Because all the conversations, all the discussions are now in that circle, in a small circle, which where it is like you, your spouse, and then another couple. So, do you think that in that process, somewhere you kind of start to lose your individuality in a sense, and like your spouse becomes a go-to person for every small thing?
That's actually a good question. So I think if I have to look back, right, I'd sort of think of myself like maybe this ties back to the introvertness. So I prefer to be in the background of any room, right? So I'm not the one who wants to drive things. I'm happy being driven and I'm happy experiencing what others like to experience, right? So that in that sense, like given that I've been with my wife, who was my then girlfriend for about 12 years before actually, not 12 years, let's say close to 10 years before getting married. And now what I was yearning for is that free time to spend with her as my wife.
Yeah.
So for me, and then I didn't mind, right, at that point, or even now to say, hey, now this is my individualness and you have to adhere to it or you have to respect it. It's just, I think at the end of the day, coming together, like to understand that, okay, cool, just had this amazing time now. Like also there is parts of your life that probably you don't have overlaps in, right, in terms of interest.
Yeah.
And then it's just about either does the person come in and sort of make the effort there, or if in cases like, for instance, I love playing cricket. Of course, I cannot have it in a competitive way with my wife. So she appreciates that and she lets me we are okay with spending that time away playing cricket and things like that. So for me, from an individuality perspective, I wouldn't say so. But that being said, definitely know that it is very important to also find that circle outside of
Mm,
just your spouse, right?
yeah.
Because for me, it was easy in that I had my roommates and the circle expanded from there. And then we had like a good friend circle. And even over here, right? I was here in Seattle before my wife got here. So I was in a way forced to find a circle.
Mm,
But when my wife had to make that journey over here, I was already here with open arms, right? So more than she affecting me, I feel like I might have affected her in that now my circle is her circle,
mm,
and she came here during COVID, so she might
yeah.
have had that experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, truly, I feel like it is important to have your own sense of individuality in that you have to have your circle.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a balance about spending time with your partner, balance about spending time
Yeah.
in that circle as well.
Yeah. Because like I think and tell me like what your thoughts on this that I feel there should be some level of uh expectation setting and also like a boundary because if your spouse becomes your go-to person for every small thing, then maybe you're unknowingly burdening your spouse. So, for example, let's say if you're bored on a certain day, and then if you are in the habit of going to your partner every time you are bored, then maybe that is not the best case scenario. Because if you are bored, you need to find out what your hobbies are. You need to engage with people of similar hobbies. So, I mean, you need to create your own world. Relying on your partner for every small thing can be detrimental eventually. So I think there needs to be some kind of expectation setting where like you do you now. I mean, I'm here to support you, but you need to figure out your own life after a point. Because that is kind of, I think it is also kind of load balancing when you're sharing your load. Like if you have 10 things going on, your partner will be there to support you. That's given. But the expectation should not be that the partner should be able to resolve everything.
Yep.
Because the partner may not be capable of doing that. There are people who are capable of doing that.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on like that, drawing that boundary or being like totally uh, frank about that? that aspect of life.
Yes, I think there are two questions there, right? One to do with support system, the other one to do with, let's say, each one having some maybe time off from the relationship. No, not from the relationship. I think that came out totally wrong. But yeah, so spending some time in what makes them, makes them the person that they are. So for the first question, right, in terms of support, I think there are three types of support. At least if I have to think about it from the top of my mind, one is like I'd call it like an emotional support or like an empathetic support, someone that listens to you, is just able to hear you out, not judge you, and able to understand what you're going through. Right, that is one key aspect because not every time you're looking for advice or some solution, you're also looking for just someone to hear you out and then not judge you. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is to do with like someone who gives you like objective feedback, right? Like someone, because even if you think about it, you can give advice to someone who is not in your shoes without their bias. So, what I meant to say is, let's say that someone is not in your shoes, they don't have the biases that you have, right?
Okay.
So, they can give you objective
Yeah.
feedback, objective advice. So, I think that's the second bucket of support. And the third bucket is, I'd like to call it like tough love,
Mhm.
which is an overlap of both, right? Which is they're able to empathize with you, but at the same time, tell you, no, listen, you need to get your
The things together.
things together, right?
Yeah.
So, in those three buckets, I feel like the spouse or your partner is, it depends like what bucket you want to put them in. Of course,
Yeah.
I completely understand the burdening aspect of it, but I think that what I believe in is you don't need to expect a resolution,
Mm.
but let them be in the loop, like so that you're
Yeah.
it's not a surprise. See, because the moment you start doing that, it could lead to potentially accumulating baggage,
Yeah.
and then you don't want to continue to accumulate that, right? And one day you realize that someone's having this for so long, and you don't even know about it. And then so I mean, you have to maintain that balance because yes, for sure, like you need to be the person that makes sure that they're not overburdened. You don't put too much stress on them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you just want to make sure that they're also in the loop. Right? Don't look for resolution. Look for at least someone that
Yeah.
hears you out
100%. Yeah.
and is
Yeah.
in the loop.
Makes sense. I think what you said, I think clearly highlights, I think the importance of having that expectation management. And we're getting close to the end of the episode now. But one thing which I want to still highlight before we end this episode is that the other way of looking at this conversation is that when you are having your own hobby, your own things going on, it somewhere also helps you improve your own self. Like it might help you to connect to yourself better. Let's say like if we are playing cricket, which is like a sport where your spouse is not involved, maybe that will make you more refreshed, more energized, and give more back to the relation.
I think so. I mean, I can definitely see where you're coming from, and maybe subconsciously it is something, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe after I finish my game of cricket or I'm done with
Yeah.
work at office, and I go
Mhm.
back home, I am refreshed. I am so excited to see my wife.
Yeah.
Is happening subconsciously. The only thing is that I don't think, at least consciously, I've thought about it that way.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that's where I'm at that way with.
Okay.
How about you? Like, maybe curious to think about it from your perspective.
So, I mean, I'm of the opinion that I think every individual in a couple they should have their own life outside the couple's dynamics. Even the people they hang out with, even the hobbies they chase, it should be something that gives them more energy because it is kind of like taking some kind of like time off from the mundane things we do every single day. Because if you keep so this is another thing which I just thought about. Like when you keep doing the same thing over and over again with your spouse, maybe it will start to lose its charm, its value because it's a play of dopamine, right?
Yeah.
Because dopamine is basically when you do something which is unexpected, you get that splurge of the
Mhm,
chemical.
mhm.
But when you keep doing the same thing every single day, you come home, you cook together, you watch the same series or movie, then maybe slowly, eventually, you start losing the charm of it. That is when I think people say we don't feel the same way like we used to feel before. But on the other side, when you engage in your own hobbies, in your own things, that is when you kind of get energized and then you come back full flame home.
Yeah,
That
I
is what.
think in a way, if you think about it, that's the beauty of life, right? Like if you're not doing that willingly, God
Yeah.
gives you like parenthood, gives you so much more. Like you're seeing your child grow up, various aspects of life, right? So it is going to be very different as you hit different phases of your life. But yeah, I can definitely understand what you're saying, and maybe yeah, subconsciously that is what is happening. Yes.
Yes, 100%. So thank you so much, Abhishek, for coming on to this podcast and in this talking from your heart. I could see how passionate you were in talking or just narrating your experience, your thoughts in the process. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time here. How has been your experience on this podcast? Like, did you like it? Was it as per expectation? How was your feeling overall?
For sure. I think, see, I was chatting about this to you with off the camera as well, which is I was wondering how I should approach this. Do I have to now figure out what's the right answer, or do I have to say what I experience, right?
Yeah.
And I think helping answering that question helped a bunch in
Yeah.
having this conversation, because I was a little under pressure before I made the realization that it's not necessarily you talk the right thing; it's more you talk what you are,
Yeah.
right? And that way, I think you being very spontaneous with the questions and with the sentences has helped a bunch. And I think we've had a lovely conversation, and I've enjoyed every bit.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, like having genuine answers is always greater than having the right answer because genuine answers, even if they're wrong, you will have time to kind of correct them eventually in life. But if you're pretending to be someone who you're not, I think that is a bit, bigger problem to solve. But
For
thank you
sure,
so much,
for sure.
Abhishek, for all these insights. And even for the audience, I hope you liked this episode. Please do let us know in the comment section what you think about this whole conversation. And please subscribe if you haven't already. We are a new podcast, so we would appreciate any support you can give us. So thank you so much again for joining this episode, and I hope you have a great time.